Hey everyone, Alex Brandy here, New England Patriots cheerleader, and you're listening to Boston's Big Three podcast presented by Ride the Wave Media.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 69, giggity, 69 of Boston's Big Three, presented by Ride the Wave Media. Today, we are sponsored again by Guy Boston Sports. Head over to GuyBostonSports.com and check out their store. Myself and the 2-Minute Drill have a little something that might be coming out soon, hopefully. Some little artwork that we've been working on with GuyBostonSports.com. But make sure you check out their website to buy all your Patriots, Celtics, Red Sox, Bruins fan gear. Joe Stafford on today, myself, the Spike King. Today's episode is going to be all focused on our guest, Chris Matthews, former wide receiver in the NFL. Before we get into the Chris Matthews interview, it's about an hour long, so it's all going to be dedicated to him, and Joe will hype him up a little bit. Joe, sports are back. They've been back for a little bit. It doesn't feel like it still because Boston sports isn't back yet. It's not. Red Sox absolutely stink. You know they're not going to go anywhere. They might not even win 15 games this season. The Celtics have had a very, very rough start in their bubble. According to some statistics, they're like the second or third worst team in the bubble right now. It just seems like they can't play defense at all. And it makes me worried about the Celtics now because I love the Celtics like this year. It makes me worried that they're not there and they're not going to be able to pick this up. And I've already said this and I'm on record of saying it to one of my buddies. If the Celtics match up with the Sixers in that first round, I would not be surprised if the Sixers beat them. I know the Sixers have had some of their woes too, but I mean, the Celtics are not there. The Bruins don't look like the same team they were. It almost feels like this break did not help these Boston teams.
Well, I was about to say the number one thing that hurt teams going into this was momentum. Like the season goes off for any sport, no matter what. It's football, basketball, baseball. It all runs on momentum, on runs. If you're getting hot, you're getting cold going into the playoffs. The Bruins were the best team in hockey, the only team in hockey to score over 100 points in that season. And then they go into the bubble, favored to be the Stanley Cup champions, and now they blow. Like the game tomorrow, we're actually recording on Wednesday the 5th right now. Tomorrow is a game between Philadelphia and Washington. Depending on that game, we might be the 4th seed. They're the lowest ranked divisional winner when we should have been the number 1 seed regardless if this thing didn't happen. So it's just very disappointing and frustrating. And your point to the Celtics, I agree with you. The Sixers are a terrible matchup for us right now. And not to mention, Kemba Walker's now injured again. He's not playing tonight. And that needs to be bothering him, I think, for the rest of his career. And when you look at Jason Tatum, yes, he's gotten hot the past couple of games. His first game, he was atrocious, given he had pretty bad hair, too. I think it's the hair. I swear to God it's the hair. But Jason Tatum needs to get hot as well. Jaylen Brown's played phenomenal. I think the key here is Marcus Smart stepping into that starting role to see if he kind of can provide that defensive spark they need on the front end.
And then when we look at the football terms with the New England Patriots, they've just finally hit the practice field. They're just kind of doing walkthroughs, nothing crazy. And it hurts me to see that you have down in Tampa Bay, you got Tom Brady just throwing to everybody. They got all these highlights ready to go. And they have just been kind of dragging their feet with the New England Patriots. And it's because of the COVID testing. And they're trying to take this very serious. And it almost feels like we're not going to have the same hype up as you would for the training camp and preseasons and looking at everything, especially when it comes to Belichick, everything's going to be super quiet. So I'm waiting to see videos from practices. You might not even see that. They're not really allowing media to be there. So it doesn't feel like sports are truly back, and we'll wait. We'll wait in a couple of weeks when the playoffs start and see what happens. But I mean, you get excited, and it's just like it is what it is.
Well, I mean, it's 2020. We shouldn't expect anything less. There was going to be disappointment going into this regardless. And obviously, the Patriots have been hit hardest by the COVID opt-out clause that was discussed between the NFL and the NFLPA. We've had, I think, 8 people opt out already. And not to mention, it's like high-profile guys. Dante Hightower, the leader of that defense, has opted out. And so you look at that entire team, you have a lot of question marks. I think we're without 11 of our returning starters for next season across the board. That's scary. I don't care what coach you have. That's a lot of, just plug and play stuff that has to be developed over the training camp period that has no actual football happening in it. I mean, and that's when I mentioned that kind of an article I'm writing as well, my training camp preview. Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham probably have the toughest battle in training camp history because they don't have the actual games to prove themselves. They just have drills and practices and scrimmages. And that's not going to be easy for any team to deal with.
It's going to be interesting because, again, well, I can harp on this so many times. Again, I still think Stidham starts week 1, and the only reason why he starts week 1 is because they don't have enough time to get Cam Newton up to speed. And, I mean, again, it's not about one's better than the other. It's about they're going to have to work very equally this season. And it'll be interesting. They're going to both be thrown out there. And it's going to be interesting, and I hope the fan base is ready to see that because this is, like you said, it's a year, and it's a season like another. Stafford, talk to us a little about Chris Matthews.
So, if you were alive back then, I don't know if Caden Bodak was or not, but in 2014, that postseason run with the Patriots was obviously a special one. Obviously, was a very, very memorable Super Bowl in postseason in general because Tom Brady finally recaptured that elusive fourth ring that he had lost twice before in 2007 and 2011. And a big part of that entire postseason was the run of the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson was just getting to all-pro form. He was becoming, a force with Marshawn Lynch in that backfield. And that defense, obviously, the LOB was leading the way. But one really important aspect of that team was the play of one Chris Matthews, little-known wide receiver. And he comes into the Green Bay game that was a divisional game between them and Seattle. And you go in, and it comes down to the very wire. Seattle mounts a phenomenal comeback. And then, obviously, the famous onside kick happens. And who recovers it but Chris Matthews? And kind of people started kind of paying attention to him right off the bat here. Like, hey, he might actually be an impact player when it comes to special teams. And then the Super Bowl happens. The Seattle Seahawks are stalling on offense in the second quarter. He comes in and absolutely mosses Kyle Arrington. And he gets a whole attention based on that. He scores a touchdown. He ends up with 4 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown and really puts the entire league on notice. And obviously it's very, that was a very impactful moment for the Patriots fans because we thought we were going to lose that Super Bowl the entire time. And so this interview was very special. Chris, again, thank you for coming on the show. He's a great guy. He actually put my mix on his story, no big deal or anything. But exactly, swish. But Chris Matthews, great interview. We talked about his career with Seattle, talked about the Super Bowl, obviously the onside kick, what went through his head. A lot of interesting little tidbits from there, especially what he says about Seattle's handling of the interception and the reaction afterwards, or actually their non-reaction afterwards. So pay attention to that during the interview. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on again. We actually hope we're going to have him on soon. We have some announcements going on with that pretty soon. We'll keep you updated. But besides that, enjoy the interview. Here you go, Chris Matthews.
And welcome back to Boston's Big Three. Yet another interview coming your way with none other than Super Bowl hero Chris Matthews, former Seattle Seahawk, former Cleveland Brown, former Baltimore Raven. Chris, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me on. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Just living the father life.
Yeah, I could hear that in the background. How old's your daughter?
She's 2, going on 3.
Oh, well, congratulations. So obviously the biggest part of your career happened just a few years ago, 2014, and it was a very, very magical postseason run for you guys in 2014. The Seattle Seahawks obviously had an unbelievable stretch there with the LOB and Russell Wilson just kind of getting into his all-pro form, and of course Marshawn Lynch, and you were a very special part of that, especially during that season. I want to start with Green Bay. Now, they walk into Seattle, and they have a great, great first half. They come in, they go at you guys, and it's not a very easy thing to do. You have Richard Sherman, you have Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas. Like, these are no slouches. These are very good football players, as you already know. Yeah. All-pro guys. And Aaron Rodgers walks in, no fear at all, and puts up a lot of points very, very early. And you guys kind of seem to be kind of staggered by that. Green Bay's defense plays better than anyone anticipates, especially during the early part of that game. And then things start to kind of switch around. Russell Wilson ends up throwing, I think, 4 interceptions that game, but yet you guys still end up pulling it out. It was a crazy, crazy run. Take me through how that game shifted, the energy, how that kind of flipped for you guys, and how you were able to come away with that victory.
Well, I think that's just a testament to Green Bay's organization. You know, they're a great team. They're a great organization. They came in ready to play. As far as on our end, I believe that we were there. We were ready to play. We just, didn't have the upper hand at that time. They came in, like you said, ready to play, and we did too. But you could just tell that it was just a little bit, different. We had to kind of shake off the rust, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And then Russell Wilson, now, obviously, he's always been a very composed leader, a very, very sharp guy, and a very good leader in general. And coming from his perspective, he knows he messed up during that game. It's no secret. I think he took responsibility for that after the game and during the game, I'm sure. What was his mentality like after throwing those last couple interceptions and then starting to turn that team around towards the end of that game?
Well, I've never seen Russell Wilson at a down point in his life, as far as as long as I've known him. Every time he comes in, whether he throws one pick, five picks, or no picks, he's coming in the second half and he's fired up, ready to go, ready to get back out there the second half. He's building up that confidence in himself. And when other people see that, say that you do throw four picks and people see that he's still fired up, it's just that resonates with the locker room. And everybody felt that. And people were out there talking shit and doing their thing, but at the end of the day, they knew that Russell's gonna come out ready to play.
Exactly. No, 100% agree with you there. And obviously, towards the end of the game, there has that unbelievable 2-point conversion you guys pull off on that fake field goal or fake extra point, and you guys go down for an onside kick. Now, this is probably the craziest one I've ever seen in sports outside of what we'll talk about later in 49. But I remember being at my house, in this very house right now, downstairs with my buddies. And my buddy's a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. Huge, but he's a Patriots fan like me, but he just loves Aaron Rodgers. And
Same
he's
here.
down. No, great quarterback, obviously. And he's sitting on my couch, and we're watching the game, and he can't believe his eyes. What's going on? What's going on? You guys are coming back. And the onside kick. And he says, there's no way they're going to get this onside kick. There's not a shot. And I said, hey, you never know. And this guy bet me $20 right on spot in my hand and said, if they get the onside kick, $20, like a tattoo of the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers wearing a Seahawks jersey. And I was like, what? I was like, what? And so, all right, I took the bet. I said, okay, cool. Kick goes up, and Brandon Bostic does not come down with the ball. And obviously you swoop in and make one of the craziest onside recoveries I've ever seen in my life. Take me through what was going on in your head throughout that entire play.
Well, it's crazy, right? Because, you would think of, professional players, being on point, very detailed, very, knowledgeable of the game. And that whole time, leading up to that week, we've never did an onside kick full speed in practice. Like, it was always versus air, pretend you got this guy and, run as hard as you can. And so we would never run hard. It comes down to the game and, we call the onside kick. I'm nervous as hell. Like, I'm still like, wait, I don't know who I'm blocking. I don't know where I'm supposed to be going. I'll just go out there. So when we get out there and we line up, I ask my good boy Sco, I'm like, oh, bro, who are you blocking? So I know who I'm blocking. He points at him. I'm like, okay, boom, I got him. I'm looking at Brandon Bostic, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna light him up. I'm about to tear him up, right? So I get out, and then I started getting nervous. I felt my arm shaking, and I'm like, bro, calm down, bro. Like, just calm down. It's football. Right when he said height, he goes. I'm looking at Brandon. Brandon's looking at me, so I'm like, okay, so obviously this is the guy who I am supposed to be blocking. And then his eyes just shifted. It shifted and went up to the air. So I'm thinking like, oh, he's about to try to catch the ball. Of course, this is my time to shine. Let me go ahead and lay the wood. Let's go knock this dude out. So I go and I'm running full speed, and the ball pops off his shoulder pad. I'm like, hold up, like, what do I do now? I'm lost. I went from not knowing what to do to knowing what to do to back to not knowing what to do again. I'm like, this is crazy. So as I'm running, I swear to you, bro, it was like a movie. Everything just slowed down for me. People started. You could see the blocks. You could see the sweat flying off of people. I could see the ball just flipping in the air slowly. Crowd is going crazy. I'm like, you know what? Let me jump and try to go for this ball and see what happens. And sure enough, I went up and the ball just laid in my arms. Like, it wasn't hard or anything. It just literally was like the easiest catch of my NFL career.
It's like a
Laid in
movie.
my arms. I'm like, That's what I'm saying. It was just like a movie, and I'm coming down, and I'm like, there's nobody trying to tackle me. I thought I would have been got tackled. I'm trying to run, and Brandon, he trips me up on my legs, and then everybody else comes in and dog piles me, with my teammates and stuff, just patting me on my helmet and stuff, and I'm like, man, I can't believe this literally just happened.
That is unbelievable. I've always wanted to know that story, which what was going on inside your head, and more importantly, what's going on inside Brandon Bostic's head. I mean, obviously, I don't want to incriminate you here or anything, but this dude, obviously, it's for Jordy Nelson. You can literally see it.
Mm-hmm.
The entire thing was designed for Jordy Nelson to get that ball, and he just really, really messed up. He was nervous too, obviously, but he goes up, and that ball hits him right here, and it just pops off, and you got to be thinking it's like a movie, like you just said, but a movie where it's like a freeze frame. It's like, hi, I'm Brandon Bostic, and this is where everything went wrong. It was just like, oh my God, to be that guy. Did you ever talk to him after the game or after really any of that happened, just to kind of talk to him about what went through his head?
I never spoke to him after that, but one of my really close friends, we went to college together, Randall Cobb, we talked about it, and it's like, he was just telling me, he was like, bro, he's just looking like the world is over, because messing up on crucial plays like that, especially when you have the upper hand, you know that something's gonna happen to you, and it was just an unfortunate moment, but it's a part of the game.
Yeah, it's just that, being an avid sports fan like myself, I understand when I get angry at my own team when stuff like that happens. I can't even imagine, because Green Bay is publicly owned. That town owns the team. So he literally comes back to town where the entire city is like owns it. Like he literally, like, they pay his salary, and then he comes back and gets, I'm sure, a ton of hate. I'm sure there's some death threats mixed in there. I'm sure everything. I bet he has the whole nine there, and I feel bad for the guy. I really do. But it still created one of the craziest playoff moments of the past decade, and it was just unbelievable, must-watch TV. And then obviously you see in the overtime period where Russell Wilson just tosses an absolute bomb, and they score that last-second touchdown to win that game and to go to the Super Bowl. And that was a crazy, crazy game, and I'll never forget that one.
That right there was an audible right there. That play where he threw the bomb.
Really?
That was an audible. We had worked on that play for about, I want to say, almost 2 weeks, to be honest with you. Like, we were pre-planning before we even got to the Green Bay game. Like, we just knew, like, if they come out with this coverage, we're throwing this sign up. It's called the Cobra, and basically everybody is running a slant, and the only person who's running a deep route is Jermaine Kearse, because we just knew that safety loved favoring that right side, and so we was like, okay, this is going to be a one-on-one matchup on the right side of the field.
Right. Well, what was the original play call then? Do you remember?
I think it was like a run. I think it was like a run play, to be honest with you.
Oh, really? So you guys really just said fuck it, and you kind of just tossed it to
Yeah. No, it was definitely like everybody on the sideline was, that was on offense knew what was going on, because we seen the coverage and everybody called it. Oh, Cobra. We trying to yell it out, making sure Russell knew it, and he's like looking around, keeping it cool, throws up the sign, everybody moves in position, and then, it went off from there.
It's like backyard football. It's crazy.
Exactly.
That's unbelievable.
Exactly
That's a great story. So you guys win that game. Then it starts a 2-week grace period to the Super Bowl. I'm sure there's a lot of buildup and anticipation on your end as well as the whole team's end. I remember, and then obviously the most infamous Super Bowl press conference of all time. Marshawn Lynch gets up there. I'm here so I won't get fined. That is an unbelievable moment. Take me through kind of the Super Bowl media day and how that kind of affected your mindset going into the game.
Well, okay, so for me personally, it didn't affect me at all, because I wasn't one of the main pieces of the offense. So my whole mindset was to go down, in the opening of the playoffs, because at that time we loved to kick off first, set the tone with defense. I was thinking about going down and get the solo tackle, blow them up or slang them down, fumble the ball, whatever it was. I wanted to be the first person to start the game off and do that. And so, Coach Schneider, he knew that. I expressed to him that, and he kind of had set up the kickoff to where I would be the free person to be able to move and do what I want and go for the tackle. So I was never really worried about, the offense, like that. Like, I still studied plays and just to be ready. But I never was like really focused on offense. So just going through the whole media thing and the Super Bowl activities that was going on never really bothered me. Like I kind of just stayed in my room, just getting ready and hung out with my teammates. That was about it. To be honest.
Right. All right. I have a serious question. I need to be straight with me too. I don't want any bullshit answer. I want a real answer out of this. How much did you guys party during that 2-week period?
Well, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep it honest with you. I don't know how much people party. Like I said, I didn't party as much, and I wasn't even the focal point of the team. So I know if I didn't party as much, nobody else was doing that as well.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, I would have to think because in my head, I'm going through the list of these guys. A lot of serious guys in that team. Cam Chancellor doesn't mess around. Richard Sherman doesn't either.
Mm-hmm.
And they're smart guys too. So I wasn't anticipating anything, but I was really hoping there was a little nugget there where someone got
Mm-hmm.
blackout drunk at the bar down the street and had to like stumble home or something. And you guys covered it up in the organization or something. I was hoping for something like that.
No, because everybody, that at that time, we was just coming off fresh off the Super Bowl win. We was thinking like, okay, we can make this a dynasty. That's what everybody was saying. Like we can make this a dynasty. We win another one, then we come back and win another one. So everybody was super focused. Everybody was super ready for the Super Bowl game. We knew what kind of atmosphere this was and who we were playing against. Is the biggest thing. Is like the Patriots are not a slouch.
Right, exactly. And before we get into the game here, I do want to talk about Pete Carroll a little bit. Obviously, you've kind of gone through our whole interview so far and said, I haven't been the focal point of the offense. I understood that. You knew your role and everything like that. And then you guys are kind of stalling offense when it starts to get into that second quarter. And Pete Carroll, at what point he just comes up to you and what does he say to you? Does he just say, you're in, it's your time to shine? Does he try to prep you up? Like, what did he say to you when he decided to sub you in that offense?
Well, that's at that time. Ricardo Lockett was the next man up at that time, and he had just went out there, ran like 3 deep routes, and he was gassed. He was like, "Bro, I need you. I need you to come in for me, bro." So I go out there and we call this play. I forgot what it's called, but 3 receivers to the right, and it was my first catch down the field. And for 2 weeks, we had practiced this one play to where it was, basically where I was, Ricardo Lockett was, and he would run this deep corner post. And it was just to clear everybody out and let Doug Baldwin and Jermaine Kearse run slant underneath, underneath the middle which was man-to-man coverage for us. Pretty much what New England plays the whole time. And they were supposed to get the ball, make something happen after that, just to get a first down. And so, I go in and I run my corner post, and I'm just thinking in my head is, just clear out, bro, just clear out, and run back to the sideline and let Ricardo Lockett get back in. And sure enough, I run my corner post and I look back and I just see the ball in the air, like going deep. And I'm like, wait, whoa, hold on. I had to look. If you really look at the film, like I look and then I run, I turn back, and I run again, I look back up, like, is that ball really coming to me? Like, so it was like we practiced it for like 2 weeks, but never threw that ball deep. And, this time I don't know what came out, came from Russell, but he threw the ball. So I was like, let's go make this play.
That's unbelievable. I still feel so bad for Kyle Arrington. I mean, this guy, he's a talented kid. He really is. And he had a lot of up and downs here in New England. But as soon as you subbed in that game, that was a tough look for one of our most favorite cornerbacks on that team at the time. It was a tough look. But, I mean, game respects game. We understand that. And it goes – the football is – it's a man's sport. It goes up and down. You have, hot and cold streaks. And just in that particular set of plays, you got the best of them. And it's understandable. But I just feel so bad for Kyle Arrington. I can't say it anymore. I can't say it enough.
So after that year, off season, we're just training. He came into EXO in California, and we was just sitting there working out, and he walked up to me. We didn't know each other until that time, and he came up to me like, bro, he's can't believe you went off on us that game. Like, we had no scouting report on you. We were just out there just picking people. Like, we were just picking people to try to guard you. Like, I'm sorry, bro, but
You're
y'all
not
won.
sorry.
You know,
You're not sorry.
you
Come on
won.
now.
You won, bro. That's what I wanted. I could have cared less about everything else. I wanted a ring. You know, my dad told me one thing when I was, before the Super Bowl. You got to understand that not everybody can go to the Super Bowl. Like, that's an elite class. He was like, and what's even more elite is if you win one. So he was just saying, like, basically, you know, you made it. You're meant to be there. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
You're a
Man,
personal
it was
hype
a
man back
special
there.
time. Yeah, exactly. It was a special time for sure.
Yeah, so I have to ask one question. So, for me, at least, the 2014 team, the Patriots, were a very special team for me, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because of that defense. I mean, Darrelle Revis on that team transformed the way they play defense. I mean, I'm sure you know, you're a football guy, and they really switched up from zone to man from 2013 to 2014. It was unbelievable because you kind of switched from the kind of a cube to leap type defense that they had a couple years prior, and to now where you have the best cornerback in the game, just locking down everybody that year. It was unprecedented. And it's not like he was in his prime either. On the Jets, it was a whole different ball game. Like, whole different ball game.
Matter.
It doesn't matter. Darrelle Revis is that
Revis.
dude. He is that dude.
Yeah.
And Revis Island dominated that entire season.
Yeah.
What was your prerogative, I guess, in that locker room when you're kind of dissecting, hey, what are we going to do to try to beat these guys? I mean, they have what we like to call it in New England, the Island of Doom, as opposed to the Legion of Boom. You have Darrelle Revis, Patrick Chung, Devin McCourty, Brandon Browner, who was a very underrated part of that team. And obviously you have close connections with him. He was on the Seahawks the year before. And that's like that was a great secondary. And not to mention you have guys like Dante Hightower in the middle, solidifying that defense. Even Vince Wilfork, even though it was one of his last seasons, he was still an anchor on that defensive line. And Chandler Jones as well, too. That was just a well-rounded defense. What was your prerogative going into that game and saying, hey, this is a top 3 defense in the NFL. What are we going to do to attack them?
Like I said, it was about trying to get the littler guys, Doug Baldwin and Jermaine Kearse, the ball underneath and let them run. So we, if you notice, we ran a lot of crossing routes, a lot of pick routes. We was just trying to make sure that we was getting guys open looks because we knew that they were going to come out in man-to-man coverage. It didn't matter who, really it was. I mean, I feel like we felt like we had an upper hand because Brandon Browner, like, we knew what kind of player he was. We had all the film. We watched it like religiously, and we knew who we were going to pick on and how we was going to go about it. So I just feel like the whole offense was basically predicated to beat Brandon Browner. To be honest with you.
No, I understand that because Brandon Browner, given, he does his job well. He understands what his role is, and he does it great.
Yeah.
An enforcer cornerback, but to be honest with you, that's not a very popular, player archetype in the NFL anymore. It's that we switched to speed, agility, ability to keep up down the field, and that's not his strong suits. Essentially, if he came in the NFL today, he'd be a strong safety. He wouldn't be a corner anymore, and it's just. And obviously, you guys kind of took advantage of that. But I do have one bone to pick with you guys. I'm still pissed about this a little bit. I remember watching that game downstairs in this house as well. And you do that crossing route bullshit in the end zone where Darrelle Revis gets picked by a official, by a ref, and then Doug Baldwin's wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. I remember screaming at my TV. I was throwing shit. I was pissed. I was like, "This is illegal. This is not supposed to be happening." And I was like, "Oh, no, that was a good play."
With the referee, right?
Yeah, with the referee, and I was just like, "Oh my god!"
Listen, that's just a testament to how smart Doug Baldwin is. Like,
cerebral guy.
Yeah, he's definitely smart. He understands the game, and he was just making things happen. Like, he was just wiggling through. You know how Doug Baldwin is. He's very aggressive, but like when he gets to his routes and stuff, he's like very technical with it. He loves running routes and making people fall and stuff like that. Like, that all came from Doug Baldwin.
Yeah, no,
we just try to put him in the right situation for him to be able to get off.
Right. And one thing people don't understand if you're not an avid football fan is that footwork. He had unbelievable footwork to set up all of his routes. You said he's a technician. And there's a reason for that because people are scared of his feet. His ability to shift his body into different routes and be able to kind of and not even fake out your opponent because a lot of the times the routes, they knew what they were going to do. It's not like it was a secret. You guys had the game plan out and you're kind of doing a lot of the same stuff most of the game. Like you said, a lot of crossing routes and stuff, but it didn't matter because Baldwin's feet really made everyone else in that, on that defense think he was doing something he wasn't. And it was just crazy.
Well,
The
feet don't
deception.
eat.
Exactly. It's the deception of his feet. And it was just unbelievable. And I'm glad you brought up Doug Baldwin because I think he's criminally underrated. I think he's one of the most underrated receivers of the past decade. From 2010 to 2020, I'd say top 3 most underrated players in the NFL, I think, period.
For sure.
I think it's just because that it's in Seattle. I think it was a little bit more kind of a warped sense of who he was. And not even that, the defense obviously was the big, mirror image. That was the huge, icon of that team was that hard-hitting defense. And so, yes, you have Russell Wilson, but he wasn't all pro Russell Wilson yet. You have Marshawn Lynch, who is obviously beast mode. That takes a lot of the attention up as well. And you have a very deep receiving core in that locker room. And it kind of took away from the fact that this is a top 10 receiver in the game. And when it comes down to it, he is. And so it was.
That's exactly what it is. But Seattle is a run first team. So
right.
The fact that we have a Hall of Fame, running back, and then you're talking about a potential Hall of Fame quarterback, they both can run. That's pretty hard. There was a lot of days where we were like, where we ran the ball when we really should have threw the ball. It was a lot of those days, but Doug Baldwin, Doug Baldwin has always been a professional.
I will be remiss if we don't talk about this. It's going to be painful, but I need you to go with me here. Russell Wilson leading his team down the field. Tom Brady looks like he's going to lose his 3rd Super Bowl in a row. The GOAT. And it's not his fault. Again, his defense is about to let him down yet again. And I remember staring at that TV like, this cannot be happening. And seriously, this cannot be happening. And we finally get you guys to slow down a little bit. And then, of course, Jermaine Kearse happens. Another circus catch in that stadium, in a Super Bowl. History always repeats itself. Take me through that play itself, just watching that and just saying, did he really just catch that ball?
Yeah, it was a crazy one because we had just ran, we were trying to get down the field, and we had just ran a go route. He had threw me the ball. I'm super gassed. I'm like, I'm looking to the sideline like, where is Ricardo Lockett? Hey, come on, bro. I'm tired, but we started running 4 and 5 wide, so it's like, you have to go in, Chris. You have to be in. And I'm just like, all right, bro. We get back out there and we run yet again another go route. So I'm on the left side of the field. We go down the field, and I'm thinking like, to be honest with you, if you ask me, I beat my man. I'm thinking the ball is coming to me, right? I look up, the ball is going all the way to the right side of the field. I'm like, okay, let's go, Jermaine. Make a play for us. And sure enough, came up with that acrobatic catch. I'm like, oh my God. All thoughts of being tired and feeling the being tired went right out the window. Like, oh, we're about to get scared. When I seen him catch that, I just knew because you really felt that and you knew that anything can literally happen if we are in the right mindset. And when he caught that ball, I just knew we were going to win that game. Like it was just there was no doubt in my mind that we could win this game, no matter where we were at, how much time was on the clock. We just knew we were going to win that game. And with that catch, it just solidified it for me. It was like amazing.
Yeah, 100%. I was in awe. Like I said earlier, I was just shocked. My mouth was on the floor. I was just like, that really just happened. And it's not like it was bad coverage. Malcolm Butler did everything possible on that play to stop that from happening. He jumped out of the gym. His body was literally like sideways. He was up here, and it still didn't matter. And then obviously Daron Harmon hops right over him while the ball's still in the air and thinks, oh, no, he's not going to catch it or anything. And I love Daron Harmon. I was a huge Daron Harmon fan for his tenure with New England. And I was just like, oh, my God, I can't believe this is happening. And then you run Marshawn Lynch. You get to the 1 yard line.
Mm,
And
here we
then
go.
probably the craziest sequence of events in NFL history happens. Russell Wilson drops back on a pick play, passes the ball, and Malcolm Butler, little Malcolm Butler, out of West Alabama, I'm pretty sure. I don't even know where this dude went to college. And he comes out and makes the craziest play in Patriots history at the very least. Intercepts Russell Wilson at the 1 yard line and wins the Super Bowl for the New England Patriots. What happened?
I don't know, bro. I really don't know. Like when we were on the one, it's pretty much safe to say, I haven't talked to a lot of actually nobody has ever, we have never really sat down and talked about the Super Bowl game as a team or just amongst, different small groups within the team. Nobody has ever really talked about this game and what happened and how we felt about this. And when we heard the play, everybody on the sideline was like, "What? What are we doing?" It was like, "What are we doing when we got Marshawn Lynch beast mode right there?" It just didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me from the get go, and I was sitting on the sideline like, I don't know what's going on. I was trying to get back in the game at that point in time. I was telling them like, I'm ready to go. They're like, no, we're just gonna run this play and see what happens, and we'll put you in. And I'm like, okay, cool. But then when I heard the play, I'm like, damn, boy, I got on a knee. I started praying, like, please let this happen for us. And, Marcus Butler. Well, first off, let's just say that, even though I'm not really a big fan of Brandon Browner, but let's just say he did his job to hold up the whole sequence of the game because Jermaine was supposed to pick Malcolm Butler and let Ricardo Lockett come underneath, for the easy layup win. I mean, layup catch for the touchdown. But of course, Brandon Browner is so big and so strong. He kind of, pushed him too far out the way to where he couldn't get to Malcolm, and Malcolm just, as DP, I feel like they work on that stuff.
Yeah.
That W ladder. He just took that step and exploded out of his stance, and took the ball.
Yeah, no, and this just speaks to the genius of Bill Belichick. They practiced that exact play in practice the week before Super Bowl. There's literally footage I've seen where it's the exact same play, the same pick play. Every route is the exact same. It's unbelievable that he actually had that play practiced precisely for the situation. And the funny thing is, Malcolm Butler didn't do a good job in practice on that route. They scored a touchdown in practice on that route. He went underneath. He went around the pick. He didn't jump in front of it.
I wish you would have done that in the game.
Yeah, I mean, wishful thinking, but yeah. And Ricardo Lockett gets it. If he was still tired, and I'm assuming you would have been in the game if he was been tired for that exact play. And I gotta ask, do you think it would have made a difference? Do you think you would have caught in that ball if you were in the game?
I for sure would have caught the ball. I would have for sure caught the ball. But the thing is that me and Ricardo Lockett are two different players.
Right.
Ricardo Lockett is built for speed, and I'm built for being a big guy, jumping over people, and just big boying people. So we're two different players. If anything, if I was a person to run that play, if anything, we probably would have just banged in each other, and he probably would have not caught the ball, or I probably wouldn't have caught the ball. Or I would have caught the ball, and we'd have just been on the one, or I probably would have scored. But it wouldn't have been like that if I. Sure.
Yeah, and it begs the question why they had Lockett in that situation in the first place. Because yes, he's a very talented football player. You can't deny it. But like you said, he's built for speed, and you're 6'5", 235 pounds.
Well, you got to think about this as well. Ricardo Lockett has been in the league a lot longer than I have, and he has been in clutch situations to where they trust him, in that position. Now, thinking about it on your side, when you're talking about size, yes, I see where you're coming from when it comes down to that. But Ricardo Lockett definitely had the knowledge and the athleticism to go out there and make that play. It just didn't work. I just say, at the end of the day, we're all men. And some of us are going to guess right, some of us are going to guess wrong, and things just happen. That's no sort of Ricardo Lockett. It was just a great play by Michael Butler,
Right. No, I agree
which
with you 100% there. I wasn't trying
transcended
to.
his career for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to trash on Lockett or anything. I wasn't. He's a very good football player, and I respect him a lot.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, because if I'm coaching that game, well, first of all, I wouldn't have passed the ball on the 1 yard line. Let's put that there.
We can just say that.
Yeah.
We
Before we
can
move
say
on, I
that.
have to say that I wouldn't have passed the ball. But if I had to have passed the ball, I'm going to the guy who had 4 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah,
That's who I'm
for
going
sure.
to. I mean,
That's
that's
definitely
just
who I would have went to.
that's a personal thing. Well, I would hope you throw to yourself. I would hope so. Need
I'll
some
definitely
confidence
throw it
boost
to
there.
myself.
Yeah.
That and I wouldn't have thrown it inside. I would have threw it outside. We'd have ran outs, fade routes. Something.
Yeah, the funny thing is, when you watch that sky cam footage of that play, Marshawn Lynch is open on the side on that little.
Yeah.
He had that little wheel, not a wheel, but it was kind of like that out towards the opposite side of the end zone,
Mm-hmm.
and he was open. It's just obviously the play wasn't designed for him in any way, shape, or form. But it is funny that even though they decided not to run, he was still open to win the game for them, and they didn't throw to him. What was Marshawn Lynch's reaction to that sequence of events?
I don't even know, to be honest with you, because once that happened, he left. Majority of people left and went back into the locker room and just said, "Fuck it," get dressed, get the hell up out of there, type of thing. So I didn't see him right after. I didn't see him right after the game was concluded. I kind of caught him later on through the night.
Yeah, no, I remember watching. I remember watching NFL films just kind of go through that play. It was I think it was like a 12-minute segment just dissecting that one play. And there's this haunting image, a haunting video aspect of it where Marshawn just walking past Pete Carroll, and it's like that phantom slow cam, and he just looks at him and just looks down. It's like shaking his head. It's just like, you really just lost the Super Bowl because you didn't give the ball to the best running back in the NFL, best power back in the NFL. It's just, that was just unbelievable.
It's crazy, right? But I can't really, I don't know who to really blame, because you got to think they loaded up the box. You were just talking about Vince, this big ass dude in the middle of the field, in the middle, taking up 2 people.
Try 3 people.
Yeah, exactly. So, it looked bad, and Marshawn is a downhill runner. We don't necessarily, he doesn't really like to run stretch plays where it's like, use your speed and get around the corner. He wants to go in and hit somebody. That's not what was set for us to be able to do to win. I would have lost yards if that would have happened, But honestly, it was just, I don't know, bro. You couldn't have called, what I'm saying? You couldn't have called a better play. There was no better play at that particular.
Right, exactly. And it's just crazy.
I guess just losing a yard, letting them run the ball, and if anything,
I mean, it wasn't 4th down.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been better than just throwing a pick. I understand.
I mean,
I think at the same time is like, why didn't Russell Wilson change the play? You're a quarterback. You should have been like, you know what? Let's switch this. But at the same time, there's a lot going on. He was probably like, I believe in my coach. Let's run it.
Yeah,
I mean, my arm. Let's run it. I believe in my receiver. Let's run it. So
yeah,
you can't really go against that.
Right. Before we move on there, I know you said they were going to stack the box anyway. Everyone and their mother knew what was going on with that defense.
Yeah.
Everybody, they were stack the box. They were kind of bum rush everybody, engage 8, going full Madden mode. Just everybody blitzing, everybody going at Marshawn Lynch. And the play before that, when he got, I think, 4 or 5 yards, when everyone's in the box, it wasn't like they were playing zone defense, cover 2. No, they were playing engage 8. They literally rushed everyone, and it still didn't matter because he almost scored in that play. Thank God for Akeem Ayers and Dante Hightower for stopping that. But it's just like, wow, like, I don't think it would have mattered. Like, you saw it last year in the playoffs with the Patriots and the Titans. Like, everyone knew Derrick Henry was going to be the beast that game. No one was scared of Ryan Tannehill. No one was scared of that guy. And it's just like, we stacked the box. We knew what was happening. And it didn't matter because guys like Marshawn Lynch, guys like Derrick Henry, who are these big bruising backs, they're transcendent. It doesn't matter what you do sometimes because there's big human beings. They're big. They're hard to tackle. And it's just, I just can't believe it. I really still can't believe it. before we move on to anything else, obviously Tom Brady won his 4th Super Bowl ring in 2014, and then he goes on to win another 2 within the next 4 years. Crazy. Just first of all, crazy. Never going to happen again. Just wild. Never. But Tom Brady, sadly, has left the New England Patriots. I'm sure you're aware. And goes to who else but Tampa Bay. And
Which
joins
is a great team.
Joins Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard, Ronald Jones. It's like, what? And I never saw it coming.
Defense is nasty.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better, too. They got Antoine Winfield Jr. now in the second round. It was a great pickup. And it's just, how the hell did this happen? I had no idea this was coming. And some in the Boston sports media were saying, oh, it might be a dark horse team, probably a week before he signed. And I thought it was going to be the Vegas. I thought he was going to go to John Gruden. I thought it was going to be Chucky, him going to launch TB12 on the West Coast. He's going to have TB12 in every casino in Vegas. And I thought that made a lot more sense because, first of all, there's no corporate sales tax in Nevada. So TB12 goes there for free. There's no personal income tax in Nevada, so he gets his entire contract. And it would be a fully guaranteed contract anyway because you're going the goddamn Raiders. So, of course, they're going to overpay you. And it's just like, it didn't make any sense. And then the news kind of breaks. He's deciding between the Patriots, the Titans, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm like, hold up, Tampa Bay? And I'm like, oh, it's probably just a smoke screen to try to get some extra cash out of Kraft, that cheap fuck. And then he actually ends up signing Tampa Bay. What are your thoughts on Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay?
I think it's amazing. I think it's a great move. You have two, really one that's a really great, consistent receiver, Mike Evans, and another great receiver who's coming on into his own world, which is Chris Godwin. And these two dudes are like ridiculous out there. And that's all Tom Brady has ever wanted with the Patriots. Give him some more work. Julian Edelman is a great receiver. Not when you have a 6'5" dude who's out there running the same speed as everybody else.
I'm the biggest Edelman stan in the entire world. I love the guy. Hardworking, gritty. But I'm sorry. Mike Evans is a borderline top 5 wide receiver, and he's that dude. He is that dude. And Edelman, like, as much as I love the guy, does not compare to a guy like Mike Evans. And Chris Godwin's, like you just said, coming into his own. He's no slouch either. And I think the most underrated part of this entire setup is Bruce Arians, because he is a very good experienced head coach, has been in the league for a very long time, and has coached some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, Carson Palmer, and it just keeps going on and on. And he specializes in QBs, and you're getting the greatest quarterback of all time and pairing him with one of the best brains in the NFL. It just makes too much sense.
One of the best quarterback coaches ever.
Exactly. But the only thing I have a problem with is Bruce Arians' offense typically runs around these big 7-step drops. They like to throw deep. He likes to take his time in the pocket. And last year, watching Tom Brady, he was not comfortable in that pocket. Whether that was because receivers weren't getting open like they should be, which they weren't, to be fair. And he was missing his starting center, which was a huge problem with our offense the entire season. But regardless, when you have a 43-year-old quarterback, name one other 43-year-old quarterback besides Warren Moon who was good past 40. I can't think of a single one. Brett Favre had one good season when he would just turn 40 and then was an absolute shitbag the next year and retired. Yeah. And so, and obviously Tom Brady's not Brett Favre. Tom Brady is far and away not Brett Favre. But it still begs the question, like, is he going to be okay in an offense where it requires him to drop back that much each game on 7-step drops and wait to be hit by some of these guys? Tom Brady is not 25 anymore. Like, and it's not like he knows how to fall. He's a very experienced quarterback when it comes to that. He knows how to get hit. But some of these blindside hits, their offensive line is probably the weakest part of their entire team. They have some good players in the line, but it's nowhere near elite. And it bothers me with that aspect.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the offensive line and what's going on out over there. So I won't really comment on them because, you need them, and let's make sure that they're just happy. We don't know. Hopefully they do good. But my concern is if they do 7-step dropbacks, is Tom Brady going to be able to get the ball out there? That's my question.
Oh, so you're talking about arm strength?
Yeah.
You think he's going to go full noodle arm like Peyton Manning did?
Well, Hey, listen, it's not unbelievable. It is not unbelievable. If you look at the past 3 years, Tom Brady has not been throwing the ball deep too much, and if it is, it's not really pretty ball. So I don't know what's going on with that. Are we going to see a different offense from Tampa Bay? Are we going to start using Are we going to have the 6'5" dude and a 6'3" dude running crossing routes? Trying to get open, or are you gonna have them going down the field? Trusting Tom Brady to ball out there, because that's gonna make it a lot harder for the receivers to catch the ball. If you're not able to get it out there, you're putting more stress on the receiver to make a spectacular catch. And if that doesn't happen, then everybody's looking at the receiver like, what's going on with you? Nobody's gonna. The only person that that talks bad about Tom Brady is Skip. So everybody else is going to be on the receivers, and I'm on the receiver side first off, because if you're not able to get the ball out there, I know what it feels like to have to try to make a spectacular catch when you're not throwing the ball where it needs to be, and you're the one getting blamed for it because you're not catching.
Right. Super frustrating.
Yeah,
Like I said, if you give Tom Brady this team 4 years ago, I'm willing to bet my entire
that's
mortgage.
nasty.
I'm
Yeah,
literally a mortgage to win
yeah,
a Super Bowl. I would no problem
yeah.
putting that bet down. But like you said, Armstead might be a question. These quarterbacks who's not even like Tom Brady is not built his brand on throwing deep. That's not what he did.
No.
He built it on quick release, knowing the play before anybody else, through quick threes, even some quick fives. But outside of 2007, he doesn't throw deep. He doesn't.
Hey,
And so
Manny method.
exactly, hey, it works. It does
It
work.
works. It works.
I have a hot take about that though. For the Buccaneers this year, I think Chris Godwin outperforms Mike Evans for that very reason. Because
I believe that.
Godwin has those nice slant routes, those nice out routes, those nice routes that Tom Brady loves to throw to. And I think Mike Evans is a much more talented receiver at this point in his career. But the play styles don't mesh as well as people like believe them to want them to mesh well. Like I just don't think it kind of goes along those lines. Well, I just don't believe it. And so I just think Godwin's a better fit for Brady in general. And then I don't know. I just don't think Mike Evans is going to have a Super Bowl year. That's all I'm going to say.
I think Mike Evans can very well do the same thing that Chris Godwin can do. I just think they would prefer him just to be doing the more linear routes instead of the underneath routes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think that would be more catered to Chris Godwin, who's coming up. He's younger. You know what I'm saying? They're probably gonna have him there a lot longer than they're gonna have Mike Evans there. To be honest with you, no matter how good.
Right. Exactly.
Evans,
Before we move on,
time runs on.
Before we move on from the Buccaneers, I got to ask one more thing about the Buccaneers. Rob Gronkowski comes out of retirement, basically demands a trade, and ends up in Tampa Bay. I think that was all premeditated. I think Gronk was going to come back last season. I think Brady said, no, wait for my free agent decision, and then you can come back. And Gronk went along like a little puppy and said, okay, Tom, okay, and then ends up coming to Tampa Bay and reunites with him. What are your expectations for Rob Gronkowski this NFL season?
I think he's going to kill it.
Really?
Nobody can stop Rob Gronkowski besides Rob. Like he's the only one that can stop himself by going too hard. There's times where there's you're getting tackled by 3-4 dudes and you're still trying to run. Like, get down, bro. You know what I'm saying? Save your body. You probably wouldn't be in this situation that he was in with all these injuries and stuff like that if he had just got down. But at the same time, you can't really say that because that's what made him who he is. So it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't type of situation.
No, I compare it to Eddie George kind of, where it's just like you're there for a good time, not a long time, where you play your play style, you live your career the way you want to, and you play as hard as you can. And maybe you don't last 20 years like Tom Brady does, but you make your imprint in the NFL, and you end up going to the Hall of Fame, which I think both him and Gronk will be there next to each other someday. Before we end the interview, I do need to ask you about something. So the New England Patriots obviously don't have Tom Brady anymore. Jarrett Stidham, little-known second-year quarterback, was expected to start for the entire offseason. And then breaking news headline comes up, former MVP, former Carolina Panther, Cam Newton, after about 80-something days of being unemployed, which is ridiculous. Joe Flacco got signed before Cam Newton did. Like, what the hell's going on? But anyway,
Hey, man, I don't know. Joe Flacco's my guy. I don't know nothing about that. That's my guy right there.
I know. But you understand my point. Anyway, Cam Newton comes in, and the entire Boston media market goes, Cam Newton's the heir apparent. He's going to comeback player of the year. We're getting 7 this year. And I had a theory we were going to sign him for a very, very long time, for a few weeks before. And I said, hey, Cam Newton's coming to New England. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, he's coming to New England. Bill Belichick, this is a classic Belichick move.
Yeah,
Signing the former star that nobody else wants anymore. It's like Rodney Harrison again. Essentially, that's the same situation. Maybe if it's the same result, that waits to be seen. But do you think Cam Newton's the automatic starter in New England?
Yes.
Why?
Who has a better pedigree than him?
I wouldn't argue pedigree. I would just argue because of the whole COVID-19 situation, where, there's been a prevention of. You don't think so? Because I think, from what I've heard, I talked to Mohamed Sanu's receiver coach the other day. We had an interview with him a while ago, and he's worked with both Cam and Stidham closely for the past month and a half or so, with Stidham even longer. And he says he loves Cam's energy. It's magnetic, and he takes control of the game, right? And he talks about Stidham. And the way he talked about Stidham was a hell of a lot more convincing to me than when he talked about Cam. He said that Stidham knows the playbook inside and out. Cadences, audibles, what everyone's supposed to do on that offense. He knows it in and out. And then Cam Newton posted on Instagram a week ago saying this shit's calculus. And he tagged Julian Edelman and thought it was funny. And I just think that Jerry Stidham has a leg up in that regard because he's been in that building. He's been in that locker room. He's learned from Tom Brady, who ran the system to perfection for 20 years. And so if a guy like Stidham has that playbook down already and has respect of his teammates and throws a great ball, which I think he does, there's a reason why he was, being prepped as the heir apparent. And guys like the McCourty brothers and Stephon Gilmore have been gushed about the guy, saying our defense was better last year because we competed against Stiddy in practice, because he actually gave us a run for our money in those scout team drills and everything. So for me personally, I think it's an open competition. And I just don't like the narrative that Cam Newton's automatically the starter because he's an MVP that won 5 years ago. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear where you're coming from. But my thing is that just because you know it doesn't mean that you can perform.
Right.
A lot of backup quarterbacks probably know the offense, the ins and outs of it, way more than the starting quarterback, because they just feel like that will give them that much more of an edge to get out there, which it might in some cases. But if you think about it, rest in peace, Tavares Jackson. Tavares Jackson knew Seattle's playbook hands down because he ran that with the Vikings.
Right.
But you still have Russell Wilson out there.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand that too. It's a hard situation. I don't think it's a very easy thing to look at and say, hey, this guy's going to start because of this. Like, no one knows what Bill Belichick's doing. Nobody. He's his own guy. He's his own mastermind. We're not going to know anything until Bill Belichick comes out explicitly and says, hey, either Cam's our guy or Stidham's our guy. So I don't want to speculate too much, but we're going to wait for Bill Belichick's announcement.
For sure. But I was definitely thinking the same way you were thinking. And I didn't know much about Stidham, but I was just telling, a lot of my close friends, I was like, they probably just signing Cam just to push the next quarterback that they already have in the pocket that's ready. That's waiting to get his time. But then when I go and I look up the stats for Cam and I start watching the games again, it's like, but this guy right here is just different, and you need that spark from your team, especially who's a big piece like Brady. You need somebody who's going to be able to come in there and take control of that team, and put him on their back. Put him on his back and keep pushing. And I think Cam is the perfect player.
Yeah, fair enough. That's a good argument too. It's hard to argue against.
Although
Cam Newton's talent.
I really wish he would have went to the Chargers instead of New England.
Yeah, I feel so bad for Tyrod Taylor because it's going to be Cleveland 2.0 again. He's going to play 5 games and then Herbert's going to come in, and it's sad that I already know that's going to happen because I'm actually a big Tyrod Taylor guy. When he was in Buffalo, he was a very efficient quarterback. Was he a superstar?
Legit.
No, But he was a very good – he ran that system to perfection with Shady McCoy up there. I think that was a great system they ran.
He's not a superstar because they never give him the full credit that he deserves, or allows him to go out there and do what he does. You know?
If you put Tyrod Taylor on this Buffalo Bills team now, and you have the same LaShawn McCoy you did, if he was still on that team as well, they're going to win 11 games probably. I mean, that would like it's just Stephon Diggs. Like, give me a break. Like, that'd be a great offense. Before we close the interview, I want to get a little serious here. Obviously, we've had a lot of social unrest in the country lately. Black Lives Matter is more prevalent than ever. Our president has been, I don't want to get political, but he's been kind of up and down when it comes to these issues. What are your thoughts on the Black Lives Matter movement when it comes to the NFL, their plans to kneel, and their plans to affect change from their platform?
I'm just going to keep it all the way real with you. I don't feel like the NFL is taking much steps to, bringing light to Black Lives Matter, because one, you have something that's so small that they've been talking about since the early 2000s of changing the Redskins name to the Washington, whatever it is, Washington football team. Like, that makes absolutely no sense to me that they can't come up with a name by now when you've already been warned that this is going to come, and you still don't have anything coming up with that. That's one. Now, for two, when it comes down to Black Lives Matter, for sure, especially with the track record that they have, that the NFL has, that it's not going to, there's not going to be anything that's going to bring light to the attention. What's going to happen is more of the star players in the NFL is going to have to keep on speaking up like they did the last time with the commercial and force some change. Like, we really have to have our leaders, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, because, the NFL is just a quarterback star-driven league. It doesn't really matter unless they speak up. If they don't speak up and they don't say nothing or force action onto something, it's not going to happen. Like, they were talking about playing the Black national anthem for the first game of the year. To be honest with you, I don't even know what the Black national anthem is, and I'm Black. So I don't know where they even got that from. But just doing it one time, it's like, come on now. One time, that doesn't take away, that doesn't give us no light to the situation. You got the NBA running scrimmages, and they have Black Lives Matter on their court. Well, whereas you can see it clear as day. You think the NFL is going to do that? I highly doubt it. Like, they're worrying about the red, white, and blue, which is the same colors as the NFL.
100%. I think it was a PR move more than anything, especially for the Black National Anthem part. I mean, it is a good song. I actually like the song personally. I think I understand the message behind it. I understand what they're trying to attempt to do with it, but it's a total PR move. I don't really think I think everyone sees through what they're trying to do there. I think it's more of an ethical cop-out saying, hey, we're trying to support the movement. We're playing the Black National Anthem before games and everything. Guys, that's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not. And I just don't understand the thinking of Roger Goodell saying, hey, this is going to work. We're going to get out of all of our PR nightmare with this. No, you're not. Everyone sees through it. We all understand what's going on. And you said they're going to react even stronger than they did last time. I'm just hoping we won't have to have a next time. I just hope this is finally the stage where we move past this and we can, be united as a country and be on the same page with each other. I mean, open dialogue is a very important, aspect of this entire movement. And I think people on both sides need to be receptive. They need to be understanding. I think they need to just have an open conversation and dialogue, a respectful dialogue, and everything will be okay. If people just listen, I think this entire thing goes away. But people don't want to listen. People want to be ignorant. People
It's more than listening. It's more than listening, because I can hear you all day. But if you're still a racist, I'm going to treat you as such. You know what I'm saying? Like, not nothing like physical. But I just understand where you're coming from.
Right.
We need more than that. We need more than just understanding. Because I can understand that your life matters, but still go out there and try to gun you down or beat you up. You know what I'm saying? Or do something. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter for me personally. I feel like there needs to be actual change within the NFL, especially when your whole organization the whole league is 75% black. It needs to be more than that. Something else needs to happen. And I'm not the one that can just come up with all the answers. I don't know. But I know that there needs to be something more. And it doesn't need to be within the game. It needs to be outside of the game. But the NFL needs to be backing it up. That's what I think needs to happen.
Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. We had a great conversation, great debate with the Cam Newton stuff. Appreciate you coming on. I hope we can see you soon. Maybe come back on the show and we'll talk about the NFL season when it actually happens. If it actually happens, it's a whole different scenario, but we're hoping so. Yeah. Chris Matthews, thank you so much, former Seattle Seahawks, coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Thank you.
And that was Chris Matthews, former Seattle Seahawk. Former almost Super Bowl champion, 49. He took that painfully, but the one thing that stuck out to me throughout that entire interview, the Seattle Seahawks did not even acknowledge that the interception happened. How does a professional football team do that?
I mean, that must set the team in after that Super Bowl, the Legion of Boom just started going downwards. You thought that was a dynasty in the making, especially when you go to back-to-back Super Bowls, and that just kills that atmosphere around there. And for someone like Pete Carroll, too, who's an experienced coach, should know better, should know how to address that situation, should pick them back up, and they should have been back to another Super Bowl or two after that. Mistakes happen like that, and there is more to it. I remember there's always those conspiracy theories of the league didn't want Marshawn Lynch to become the MVP of the Super Bowl because they hated Marshawn Lynch at that time. Because of his, no nonsense, like, I don't want to talk to the media, I don't want to talk about you, suck my dick, hold my dick, whatever it is. It's interesting because I bet the league has something to do with it. There's something more higher up, and especially if you're an organization that doesn't want to talk about it, there's more to it. There's got to be more, and eventually it'll come uncovered.
And I have a theory about that, and I have no evidence at all to support this. I'm just kind of tossing it out there to kind of play with a little bit here. Could it be an ego thing with Pete Carroll? Because Pete Carroll makes that play call. Obviously, he's famous for making that pass at the 1 yard line. And Russell Wilson comes back to the huddle and just says, what the hell happened? And Pete Carroll just has no answer for him. Marshawn Lynch walks right past him, shaking his head, laughing his ass off like it was some funny joke. And then they don't acknowledge it at all within the organization. I think it could be an ego thing with Pete Carroll.
Do you think that if Bill Belichick was to make that same call, because he's done calls like that in the past, he's kind of the guy that will admit his wrongdoing?
Well, I mean, if you look at it, kind of a similar situation, not to the same stakes, but the 4th and 1 against Indianapolis, and when they called that 4th down, and then we didn't convert, he went to the podium right after the game and acknowledged, hey, we didn't make the right call, we couldn't get the first down, and he moved on. And it's important to acknowledge your mistakes because then you lose the locker room. If you don't acknowledge your own mistakes as a head coach, because the head coach, and any good coach will tell you that, players win the games for you. Coaches, has a good impact on that play style, but at the same time, the players are the ones who win the game. So when a coach directly affects the game like Pete Carroll did by calling that pass, he needs to take accountability for that. And John Schneider as well, and they did none of that.
Yeah, just in the fact of saying, in terms of, and lightly, like, we thought that was the best call, but the Patriots had our number. And you have to give credit to Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots for countering that play because we thought that was the right call, and it obviously wasn't. But you know what? This is a mistake that we learned from, and we will be back here. If you just say something very simple like that at the podium, you're going to get made fun of, yes. But at the same time, it's going to be accepted like, hey, hat tip to the New England Patriots. They read our play. They knew it.
Right, and not even the media aspect. How about the locker room?
Yeah.
Like, at least after the game, say something. Yes, I know morale's low, but that's the most important time to say something. When your team is in defeat and in this huge, pit of emotions, you should be able to say something as the leader of that franchise.
You can't discredit the work that we put in to get here. Back-to-back years, how hard it is. And you got to pick them back up and say, let's do it again for Super Bowl 50. And it seems like the Seattle team has never been the same since. They're always a playoff contender. They're always kind of somewhat there. And we've seen it this year that Seattle's trying to go back all in on saying we need to get back to that Super Bowl. It reminds me of kind of like Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm wondering about the accountability there. And I think they lost their locker room as well, too, with a lot of coaching mistakes that happened to have that big of a lead, 28-3. And I think that we've seen this come back to light recently where I believe Matt Ryan says that he hasn't talked to Tom Brady since then. Like, he just doesn't talk to him. You've lost that entire locker room. It's almost like you have to start over again. It's like, how the fuck do we blow this?
And ironically, the head coach of the Falcons is Dan Quinn, Seattle born and bred. He created the LOB. So is it a Seattle thing? Is it a Pete Carroll coaching tree thing? Like, we don't know, but that is an interesting coincidence.
Yeah. Final thoughts for you, Joe Stafford.
Chris Matthews, again, thanks for coming on the show. That was a phenomenal interview, I thought, an hour long. Originally, the segment was supposed to be 20 minutes, and we just kind of flowed so well, it ended up being an hour. And obviously, we were both animated during it, and we had a great time recording. Like I said earlier before the interview started, we might actually have him on again towards the end of August, and maybe actually during the season. I still have to talk to him about some logistics and stuff, but stay tuned on that announcement. But thank you again, Chris, and we'll see you soon.
My final thought is Boston's Big Three. If you are listening and you made it this far all the way to the end, I just want to hype up some stuff, man. I am personally going to be taking some time off because I have the Twins coming in like 2 weeks from now. So starting on Sunday, August 16th, I'll probably be nowhere to be found for a little bit. Then I have back surgery after that, and I'm hoping that we'll have something special set up for that, live in the hospital. But other than that, for Boston's Big Three, we have some great guests coming forward. Hopefully the next one, episode 70, will be Marlon Webb, who's an internet sensation you might know him from Vine. He's on TikTok, Instagram. I've actually had people who came out to me and said, I can't wait to listen to that. That's an hour-long interview as well. And I'm excited because we talked about, he's a big Boston sports fan. And we also talked about racism in America and the NFL and his thoughts about it. And he gives us some great insight on and educate the fans out there of what's happened to him growing up. Joe Stafford, Jay the Pats fan, and Emma have interviewed Chris Gronkowski. So we have Chris Gronkowski coming on the show eventually. That interview will drop. It's about 35 minutes long. Courtney Fallon will be making a comeback as well, too. I had Courtney Fallon on. We just talked about her trip down to the Major League Lacrosse Championship. She got to cover it for ESPN and some of her training camp thoughts. We also will have Courtney Krause on. She is a former Patriots cheerleader. So I haven't done the interview yet, but we have that scheduled for next week, and that will get out at some point as well, too. And I feel like I have one more in my mind. Oh, and we have Julia from Outfield and End Zone. So outfieldandendzone.com. She's done something where she's starting to get to travel around a little bit. We get through her history of going to see different stadiums. We did about a half an hour interview. It was interesting. A lot of people out there haven't been able to travel that love sports. We're trying to give you some of her insight and my insight as well, too, of different places we've been to. So Boston's Big Three, we're stocking up these interviews. We're doing a great job. It'll be good to have some of these individuals like Chris Matthews come back, like TJ Houshmandzadeh. Might have to hit him up and say, hey, what's going on? Pat Fryermuth as well, too. I know that Penn State just had a major opt-out as well. One of their guys is focusing on the NFL draft. It might be Tyler Miller's boy over there, the guy that he was hyping up to be like the top pick in the draft. It'd be interesting. We have some great guests coming forward. Boston's Big Three will keep rolling through this, and we appreciate you guys listening. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well, Apple, Spotify, whatever you're listening to. We thank you so much. Make sure you leave a comment, review, whatever you can. Let's keep doing this. We appreciate it, guys. Stay tuned.